Looking at the other semifinal, got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the Penn State Nittany Lions. Want to start here. A lot of these big games, people always talk head coach and quarterback. Who do you think has that advantage in this game?
This is a good question because this is where draft media and college football media collide and probably have a difference of opinion. Because Ari and I had this discussion on the show the other day. If you were picking a quarterback in the draft next year and your choices were Riley Leonard or Drew Allar, there's not even a discussion. You're picking Drew Allar. If you're picking a quarterback to lead your college football team right now, you're probably taking Riley Leonard based on what he's been the second half of the season. Because I think Riley, I know he wasn't fully healthy when he got to Notre Dame. I'm not sure he was fully healthy at the beginning of this season. And I think what you've seen the last kind of 6-7 weeks is the healthy version of Riley Leonard and what he can do when he runs the ball and how that opens up their offense. His 80 rushing yards against Georgia were the difference in the game. He only threw for 90 yards. He was the one moving the ball when Notre Dame needed to move the ball, though.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like the strengths of these two teams are fairly similar. I think like a lot of games, it's going to come down to, who can have success running the football. Whose running game do you trust the most?
Well, and that's the question. So I trust Notre Dame's because of Leonard, and Jeremiah Love's going to play. I thought Jadarian Price gave him a couple good carries in crunch time. It's weird. It felt to me like he gained more yards against Georgia than he did. He only had 37 on 10 carries, but he had a couple pretty critical ones in the second half after Jeremiah Love went out. So because of Leonard, because he's so dynamic as a runner, I think I would go with Notre Dame. The thing about Penn State's offense, though, and this is something that Notre Dame doesn't have and something Georgia didn't have when they were playing Notre Dame, is Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren's the only alien on the field among the two offenses. Now, there's some aliens on both of their defenses, but Tyler Warren's the only alien on the field for the offenses. And some of the catches that he's made are just incredible. When Penn State decides they need to force feed him the ball, they find ways to do it. This will be one of those games, I would assume, because this defense they're playing is so good. They don't have dynamic receivers, but he gives you an X factor in the pass game that I'm not sure either of these teams have otherwise.
I think it could be one of these games that comes down to who can score one or two touchdowns in the red zone when they get in that area of the field. Like who's kicking field goals, who's scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
And Andy, I'm with you. I like Penn State to win the game because in the red zone, Drew Allar can go to Tyler Warren. And he's just an absolute menace in that area of the field. So it's weird to say I think the tight end is going to be the difference maker in the game, but I'm with you, man. That's how it feels to me.
He's also not your typical tight end. I mean, he's an absolute freak. I mean, he's as good as any, standard wideout in the red zone. And then you can do some crazy things with him. And you can just hand him the ball if you need to. Like, that's how good an athlete he is. So I think he makes it very interesting. And like Mitchell Evans is good on the other side for Notre Dame.
No
but
doubt.
he's a good typical college tight end, like a good version of a college tight end. I don't see anything in Notre Dame's receiving core that necessarily scares you either. But Tyler Warren scares me. Now Notre Dame's secondary is really good. Like Xavier Watts, that safety. If you gotta play against a Tyler Warren, I'll take that guy to play him.
I don't know. I expect a fairly low scoring game. It's going to be really tight. And in those games, often the most boring thing, most under talked about thing is the special teams aspect.
Yeah.
And we saw how big of a factor it was with Notre Dame in the Georgia game. Who do you give the advantage there? Because I think field position, some of those one-off plays is going to be a big factor.
I think it's probably still Notre Dame in that respect because they're the ones that you do feel like can break a punt return, break a kickoff return, and change the dynamic of the game. And that kickoff return was, I mean, it felt like the nail in the coffin. And it
These
was
two
the
plays,
first
it was
play of
that
the
that
second half.
fumble right before halftime, and
Yeah.
then punch their lights out with that.
Yeah, they middle-aged the hell out of him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other piece of this, Ted, that you pointed out is the fumble before the half. Like, what defense do you trust to give you a play like that? Because both of these defenses are very capable of it.
What
We saw.
what
Yeah.
do we expect? Abdul Carter full go? Like what do you think?
He's playing. James Franklin said he's playing. You saw Abdul Carter, tweeted the Darth Vader in the back to tank, like he's gonna be healed. I don't know. I don't know if we get a full version of Abdul Carter or a full version of Jeremiah Love. I think we're at the point of the season where you got to go if you can go, but you may not be 100%.
He is. I mean, he's the biggest game changer that Penn State has on either side of the ball.
Absolutely.
And he's a guy that can affect the game. Like
He's
he
the
can
one that
change the
Riley
game with
Leonard.
one
Let's say
play.
Riley Leonard's holding the ball a little casual.
Right.
Suddenly Abdul Carter's on him. Like, yeah. So that's where I do think I think Ted, you're right. That's going to be a bigger piece of this game. Like, remember, Penn State had a pick six in the Ohio State game. That was their offense in the Ohio State game. So, like, the only thing I'm sure of in this game is I think the number, and it may have come down already, but it opened at like 46.5. I feel very comfortable with the under in this game.
I'm looking at ESPN has it at 44.5 right now. I don't know if if it's just a different or if it has come down.
Who do you got? Who do you think?
I picked Penn State, but I feel like it's a coin flip game.
It could come down to field goal kicking, guys. Oh, gross.
I know.
I hate that so much.
We didn't even get into Bird Auburn for Texas if that game comes down to a field goal.
Do you think Sark will give him another pep talk or leave him alone?
I would leave him the hell alone. Now, let's not forget the heroic efforts of the Arizona State managers who had the ball, because people don't realize, like, each team has their own ball people on the opposite sideline so that they can give the officials the ball when their team has the ball. And so the Arizona State two ladies that were the ball ladies for Arizona State walked right in front of Bert Auburn as he was lining up a practice kick.
Saw that video.
Savvy veteran move.
Mental warfare from
Yes.
the Arizona State Sun Devils ball girls. Impressive.
Would have been even better if he's kicking an Arizona State game ball instead of Texas kicking ball.
Which they play with like an Adidas ball.
Yeah,
They do.
it's funny.
Craziness. All right. So you like Ohio State and then you like Penn State. How about that?
Yeah.
You get an all Big Ten
Which, if you'd have
national
told
title
me
game.
after the regular season game, if that could be the national title game, I'd be like, oh, God, what happened?
I'm assuming I haven't really heard anyone pick anyone other than Ohio State to win the national championship. I just don't know how you do it with the way they've looked the last 2 weeks, but I'm assuming you like the Buckeyes to win it all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, unless I see something that indicates the team that played Michigan is going to somehow show up again, but I don't think we're going to see that team again.
It's been a long time since the SEC went 2 years without winning a national championship. There's a strong possibility they may go 2 years without even playing in the national championship. Do we got a shift going on?
I think so. And I don't think it's just an SEC thing. I think it's a shift away from the superpower stockpile talent. Like, Ohio State may be the last version of this. Because remember, those are really old players at Ohio State either came in right before NIL started or at the dawn of NIL. I don't think you're going to be able to stockpile talent like that again. Not like the Saban teams, not like the more recent Georgia teams. It's going to be very difficult to have that level of talent all in one place because the market's not going to allow for it. Like, other teams are going to be like, hey, you're great. You can be a star here and make way more money. Come here.